I'm trying to figure it out still.
Fucking hell, that's scary.
Trying to figure out what?
Oh, I think it's just me standing on broken glass. It scared the shit out of me.
Walking on broken glass.
Wow, okay. Alright, cool. There was
I'm glad you were impressed.
nothing there, and then dude started singing in an abandoned house. Thought you were doing an investigation, as you called it.
Why can't we sing in an abandoned house? Maybe the entities and the spirits would be happy for someone to sing to them in an abandoned house. What's your problem? Yes, high five for everybody. Yes. I've been off on a week's holiday and I have been glad of the break from Cecil, but Cecil actually has come up with something that I actually want to talk about. So let's get into it. This is very interesting actually. Right, let's go.
Bubbles.
I don't care.
Bubbles.
Cecil, please.
I'm gonna say this. Come on a sec.
I'm going to say this. That's his new thing to start the video with. But anyway, he's going to get into it. It's about 10 minutes.
I'm gonna say this. For those y'all out there trying to debunk paranormal researchers, it seems like that y'all are just bitter for being losers.
That's a bit vague, to be honest with you. Some people don't like people being fake in the paranormal because there is a lot of clout chasers out there, but I do understand that the issue I have with people that are debunkers are they don't focus on the positive, if you know what I mean. They focus on the negative all the time. I'm not interested in debunkers, to be honest with you, because I try to do things the best I can, sort of thing.
There's no way to prove whether or not a ghost app can work or not.
Okay.
Getting a hold of the app's creator is no way. How could you sit there and say that spirits cannot manipulate a word bank that is in a ghost app?
Right, a very good point. Rather than me using applications on my phone, I decided to use word banks that I chopped up and reversed, etc. I got a lot of EVPs from them, and I've been using languages other than English, like French. If you are a fan of Steve Huff, one of his sayings is, spirits use audio to speak to us. That has been proven many times. That is his sort of his theory on spur communication. That is not just radio, it's the manipulation of audio. Let me correct myself. It's not Steve Huff's theory. Many people have had that theory throughout the years. Steve always seems to plant his flag in the ground and say, that's my theory. And it's the best theory in the world. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get that, but there is a lot of apps out there that are pretty shit. Some of them manipulate some of them manipulate your voice to throw out what you have to hear. Here's the thing with apps on your phone. Some of them are not, most of them are not transparent in the way that they're made up. Do you know? So, you know, if I don't trust apps and I know that manipulation of audio can take place with communication, why don't you just make your own sound banks? In fact, Cecil has the technology to make sound banks better than me because he's got, you know, he's got a background in making beats and stuff like that with his software that he's got. My dog wants to play. Stop.
How do you know?
But the thing, you see, the thing is, Cecil, you need a raw audio source to compare it with. How can you prove that the application hasn't manipulated that audio artificially? That's where we're getting. That's where my point is. Do you understand where I'm coming from here? Applications sometimes can manipulate audio. But if you have a sound bank that is raw and you get manipulation of audio, you can line up a raw audio source to it and prove that there's a manipulation of audio. You can't exactly do that on an application that manipulates the audio artificially. You know, and we can't, or, you know, it's because some of these applications actually put in fake responses. Some of them do. It's trying to get an application that works. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. So you're better off just using your own audio. You know, your own audio banks, chopping up the words, slowing it down, reversing it, etc. You know, at least then you know. That's what I do.
It's known that spirits can manipulate all kinds of different electronic devices. Why can they not manipulate newer, higher technology?
Well, they can. They can.
And because EMF...
Cecil, why did you have to go off subject all of a sudden to EMF? We're talking about audio banks here. Why can't we stick with one topic at a time, Cecil?
Electricity is in the air with so many different things. Doesn't mean that you can't use an EMF detector to detect the presence of a spirit. I've been out in the woods where there wasn't no electricity within 30 miles, where there was no EMFs in the air.
I got a question. Did you have a phone with you when you were out that 30 miles from electricity? And where was the nearest cell tower? That's important. And when we go to locations, a lot of the time we get EMF and stuff. It suddenly dawned to us that, you know, to look up where the nearest cell tower is. Your phone, because there's a GPS tracker in it, your phone signal will automatically ping from the nearest cell tower I don't know how frequent, but it is very frequent. If you are travelling, it will change from one tower to the next tower nearest your phone, and it'll continually ping. People forget that phones are a massive source of EMF and EMI. That's why when we're on investigation, we don't turn on our phones. We leave their phones in the car, we switch them off, put them on airplane mode, blah blah blah. We don't bring your phone into an investigation in any way because of the causes of EMF. A lot of people make that mistake. Cecil's made that mistake a number of times on videos. You know, it is what it is. When Cecil's at home, he's going to have his own phone, Hetty's phone, his daughter's phone, and any other extra phones, and possibly tablets that have phone SIMs in them. Anything like that is going to be pinging every so often, and it's going to cause an EMF spike in the nearby environment. And if you have a phone and you're filming with it, EMF isn't worth anything to you, because you have a phone in your hand with a signal traveling to it every so many seconds or so many minutes. You know, he hasn't mentioned had he got a phone when he was out that 30 miles, but usually people have phones. Cecil doesn't properly think when it comes to EMF and stuff like that. Simple look up on what EMF is and how it's caused will tell you all you want to know, but a lot of ghost hunters are too lazy to do things like that. I've the same experience, and the only thing is here with EMF or EMI is we can't prove that it's the causes for for EMF and EMI spikes is paranormal. We can ask questions. We can ask, we can ask the entities or whatever you want to call them to spike at certain times, and if it does it a number of times, that's very interesting. But at the end of the day, that doesn't prove that it's being manipulated by a paranormal source. You need more than that. Our equipment for ghost hunting and paranormal is not very advanced. Actually, it's very, very basic. And we haven't had big advancements in paranormal equipment in quite some time. You know, we can walk around with EMF detectors and REM pods and stuff. When these devices go off, it is very interesting, but it doesn't prove the presence of a paranormal entity, because you can't do it. The most evidence, the best evidence you can get would be from a camera, a heat sensing camera, thermal camera, and audio. It's your best. These other things can be tools that can give interesting results, but cannot give you the fundamental proof of paranormal activity, if you know where I'm coming from.
And my phone will go off on command in response to asking spirits to manipulate the EMF. Just a basic ghost meter that
Yeah, I have that basic ghost meter. Yes, sometimes you still have to question, is it timing? Anytime I use an EMF meter, I always say, wow, that is interesting, that I get a response on request over and over again. But I'm always going to say, Was that timing? Were they going to go off anyway because of another source? Now, you mentioned that you were, 30 miles into the woods or whatever. I've been in places where there shouldn't be any form of EMF. But because I dabbled a bit in amateur radio and stuff, there is stray signals all around us. We can't fully prove that an area miles away out in the middle of nowhere doesn't have some sort of source of man-made EMF, like radios, radio communications, etc. I'm actually was going to do an experiment with a walkie-talkie and see how far I could trigger an EMF detector. I was going to do it on my holiday, but I never got around to it. But I will do it at some point.
Beeps and lights up, and the needle moves. So, I think there's a certain way that you have to use tools. See, people are so skeptic because they haven't had much experiences, if any experiences. One guy, Angry K. John, whatever the fuck his name is, was saying that he didn't get any evidence for fucking over many years. It's like, dude, you're going in with a mental capacity as a skeptic, and you don't spend no more than 2 minutes at the location because you're too scared to get out of the car because it's too cold for you.
Well, I don't know who you're actually talking about. You do mention some debunker in another video, but here's the thing about debunkers. Some of them are... Ow! My dog just bit me in the arm. Play biting. Debunkers, some of them are passionate about, bringing the truth back into the paranormal. There is a lot of fakery out in the paranormal because of clout chasers. Let's just face it. If you're doing it properly, nobody cares. If you go into a graveyard and you get one of your friends to dress up like a nun and come out behind a gravestone, people want to watch that stuff. That's the problem, Cecil. The person that you've mentioned actually meant, there was a couple of videos there, like CJ Faison, what do you call them? The UK guy that was American, Proven Demons. Proven Demons is an entertainer. He was very good at ITC at one point, and instead of keeping all his real stuff on the one channel, he decided he wanted to be a YouTuber, and he's making money for himself. A lot of the stuff he does is for entertainment purposes. Other people are putting out stuff that claim that they're getting paranormal activity, and it's very scary and stuff, and it's entertaining. It's entertainment. I don't mind a bit of entertainment. I don't mind watching a bit of CJ Faison or Omar Gosh or any of that. In fact, I was watching Omar Gosh yesterday. I was catching up and stuff because he goes to very interesting places. I don't necessarily believe a lot of his paranormal activity, but those putting out stuff that is true when it's false, that's what angered a lot of these people, a lot of these debunkers. But then again, the other part of it is, I'd rather just do my stuff. I'd rather just, there's, the thing is, there's a trend at the moment of debunking. And people are getting popular from debunking. The problem is, there's nobody shouting out that people are trying to do it right. Everybody, these people are focusing on the negative, and I get where you're coming from. But there's nobody shouting out people that are actually doing it right. And you know, in the paranormal, it's not. It's not. Sometimes it's not entertaining. Sometimes it's boring. But it is what it is. Do you know? Oh dear. Oh dear. I did find out who Cecil was talking about. And boy, oh boy, Cecil, you need to watch somebody else, because this is going to be nonsense. Right. Gonna go through this video, and it's called "Are the Ouija Brothers Fake?" Now, I'm going to be completely and utterly honest with you at the beginning that a number of years ago I fell out with the Ouija Brothers, and I was in the wrong, and I reached out to the Ouija Brothers. I said sorry, and they were all cool with me. You know, so I got no problem with the Ouija Brothers. But I did see this video today, and boy oh boy is this bad. Not on the Ouija Brothers, this guy. Cecil, I wouldn't take this guy seriously, to be honest with you, because he's not a debunker, and I'm going to show you why he's not a debunker by going through this video. So let's go.
Yeah, this one's gonna hurt some feelings. Maybe not. You never know. Well, howdy doody YouTube. How's everybody out there in YouTube land doing? If you don't know who I am, my name is Bayou. I'm the owner, founder, and lead investigator of BA Paranormal and Research. I've been a paranormal investigator for 15 years. Yeah, I've been since before it was cool. You know, before everybody was one. Clue, not everybody's one. Anywho.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there, but I think you need to go back into doing paranormal research because your debunking is non-existent, and I'm going to prove it right now. I don't want to fall out with anybody, but this is nonsense.
We have a highly requested one. Today, as you can see from the title, we're going to check out the Ouija Brothers, sorry. I got high hopes for this one.
What high hopes? Are you hoping to clout chase off the Ouija Brothers? Because that's what it looks like. Because you haven't debunked anything. You went, no, that's nonsense, that's bullshit. Apps are shit, this is shit, that's nonsense, I didn't hear anything. Let's continue.
I'm not even going to lie to you. I have high hopes. And I have a feeling they're going to be crushed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Cajun can't speak. I'm sorry, but like, come on. There's not really a lot that's real. Anyway, let's do it. Let's go ahead.
You know, he's probably a nice guy, but I really think that he shouldn't go down this avenue, to be honest with you, because you know it's not good.
Get into it. First clip.
Okay guys, so we have just, man, look at the size difference, it looks like I've shrunk.
Yeah, sure.
It's
I've got massive.
I'm just standing in a pothole. This road is probably one of the worst roads we've ever gone down. But we've just arrived
That is a
to
pretty bad road.
an abandoned farmhouse. First time checking this out. The only other team that I know have been in here is Mr. Carl Guntrip, exploring the entity. He hasn't told me anything that's happened, he just said this place is eerie and creepy and that we need to check it out. So here we are outside.
It's actually
So that's starting off interesting. I'm gonna say exploring the entity or whatever the hell that is. I already looked at him a little bit and it's not looking good for you guys. I'm just saying. Hopefully you can redeem yourself.
I don't know who.
Next clip.
We don't know any history on this place. There's no reports that this is even haunted. It just looks the part.
First thing I want to say is, damn with the B-roll. This whole video is like that. Where like, I don't know, like 70% of it's actually B-roll.
It's not. It's not. Now, some people get annoyed by the creepy music. That adds a fear factor to the whole thing. But after sort of talking to Steve and that, he likes the creative process of making videos. You know, so, you know, he's making an effort to present this in the best way. This is why he's got, has he got 100,000 subscribers? They've got a lot. They've got a lot in comparison to a lot of other paranormal, paranormal channels out there and that. But, you know, is this guy going to debunk anything today? I'm going to tell you he isn't going to.
And you'll see later, they even ask questions and then go right to B-roll. Oh God, what's this next clip? Can we not have like just anyway? Let's.
Why did you bring up these other two clips? You didn't commentate on them. It's not. You know, are the Ouija brothers fake? What has got these two other clips that you just played got to do with any of this? I don't know.
Unbiased. Next clip.
Let's actually show what we've now got in the arsenal of the Ouija brothers. Now, some of you people are going to love it. Some of you are going to absolutely hate it.
Fuck 'em.
So this is a tripwire. I think it's like a 12 foot or something tripwire. It looks about 12 foot, doesn't it?
Yeah, let's say 12 foot.
And what it is, I mean, I'm sure you've seen this on other channels, but if you haven't, each one of these individually light up a different colour if it's got EMF. So it's not like the entire thing will just light up. It will be each one individually. So just say a ghost or a spirit walks past, and if we do take the EMF theory on board, theoretically each light should light up. And also we have got our very trusty, lovely Melrem that I do enjoy. Now that doesn't go off that much, which I prefer because, you know, it's built of solid material. So when it does go off, unless it's the battery, but you usually know when it's the battery because it just starts going like zzz, zzz. So you know when it's that.
Stay, you're telling them all the secrets.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of like that. You are using some bullshit experimental stuff, and you actually put that it's experimental. I like.
If you like that, why are you saying it's bullshit? That just shows you a bias straight away.
That. That's good work. That's a good start. But I have like some question about that little rope thing. You said they're independent, right? But they're all wired together to one power source. Anyway.
Oh my God. They work independently. They can still work independently even if they have one power source. That doesn't stop them working independently. So, you know, you have a gotcha moment there, but it's not a gotcha, I'm sorry.
And you're explaining things a little bit different than most others. I like that. I like
Can you elaborate on that?
that. My hopes are getting higher. Next clip.
And that's about it. That's all we've got. Just those two devices. Oh, actually, there's one thing we have forgot. The ghost tube. So we'll grab that.
What are you on about?
I haven't even got it up yet.
You on about the app on the phone?
The good old
I already know about that though. We ain't starting the year off like this, haven't we?
You bloody hell.
It's just starting the year. It's February.
1,000 words. Let's go.
Oh yeah, we
1,000
premium
words in
members
your
now,
word
aren't
bank.
Oh, some people aren't like that.
we? Oh yeah, we
You
better.
can add your own words in. It's all fake. You know what I mean?
Alright, we'll tell them that they can.
To be fair, we haven't actually added any words into the bank, so. You know, that door.
Okay. All hopes completely crashed. You even said it. We're going to put it on 1,000 words. No, that's the words that come in the word bank. You don't add them to it, you dummy. This is a phone app, and really one of the worst ones. Ghost Tube?
Are you going to explain why it's one of the worst apps? Or are you just going to say it's bullshit?
Wow. There goes the whole theory of you being real and stuff.
Another gotcha moment that wasn't a gotcha. He hasn't explained why these apps are shit. He doesn't have an argument there. I'm not a fan of apps. I don't particularly like them. It's just because I like using, you know, radios, other things. For ITC, I prefer to use radio. I prefer to use a live audio source. That's my preference. But you're not going to prove that these are bullshit, like you say. You say it's bullshit, but you don't explain why it's bullshit.
Honestly, I should just end this video now. I mean, like, for real, you're using GhostTube. You can't be real if you're using a bullshit app. Next clip.
Is that all you've got? That's not a debunk. You see, we can have opinions, and a difference of opinion is good. But for you to go along and say, this is bullshit, so these people are fake, that's basically what he's saying. This guy is not debunking these people at all. Now, I would say the same thing for any other paranormal group or whatever. Do you know? And that's why I said in the beginning I had fallen out with the Ouija brothers a number of years ago. I cleared it up. We're all good. I haven't spoken to the Ouija brothers in years. I haven't. Do you know? This is one of the examples of a person that is not debunking anything. And he thinks he's got gotchas, and he doesn't. And he started off with a bias in the first place. And it was clear to see.
So we've got some of these devices here on the window. Well, on the fireplace, I should say. You can use that to tell us your name. Before
I go on, the Ouija brothers very often go into an investigation with hardly any equipment at all. Do you know? Now, I haven't seen their stuff lately in that, but very often they don't put all their faith in these devices, and they don't claim that they're 100% accurate. They never have. So, yeah.
What we would prefer easily is if you could come and say it to us. If you could say it, whisper it into our microphones, into the cameras. Is that at all possible?
Scratch.
First word of the year. What a banger. Scratch. If you could, Spirit, could you follow the lights? Could you follow us? Could you come and follow our voice?
So your first word of the year is a banger, but it has no relevancy and you just move right past it. Good work.
But he didn't say there was anything relevant to it, he just said it was a banger. He didn't say it was relevant to the investigation, so what are you talking about? Yeah, scratch in a paranormal investigation, that's a banger word. He didn't say that was directly a spirit saying scratched. He didn't say that. So that's not a gotcha either. This isn't going
Good
well.
Good work. So you know the app's bullshit then, right? Oh, and let's get into the apps.
Let's get into the apps. Let's see you debunking an app.
The app creators say that uses sensors inside the phone. The sensors that are inside your phone are to protect your phone.
Not necessarily.
How is some bullshit app going to use the heat sensor for your microprocessor?
We didn't say that a heat sensor is used in these apps. There is other sensors. There's sensors that detect vibration and other things. There's a sensor in the phone for GPS, etc., etc., etc. This heats, that doesn't make any sense.
It can't. It can't. Why don't you do what I did and Google Samsung? Not Google, like email Samsung and ask them, or Apple and ask them. And they'll tell you that they can't. No apps can affect the sensors inside your phone. Next clip.
Is that all you've got? Is that all you've got? If you wanted to debunk the app, why didn't you go to the app creator and talk to them? See, this is why I don't debunk. I don't really care that much about debunking other people and that. But if you want to be a debunker, why don't you go to the app creator and ask him or her how the app was created? Can we see the raw banks, etc.? You've plenty of questions there you can ask. You emailing Samsung and asking about sensors isn't debunking the app. It just simply isn't. Oh God, we're 7 minutes into a 16-minute video, so openly I'm not going to spend too long on this. This is rubbish.
There's a big purple...
I just heard a voice.
Isn't that outside?
Think of where we are and tell me that's normal to hear a voice.
Does it sound like it come from outside?
For me, it sounded that direction, but it was definitely a bloke's voice. It was a noise.
There's a big purple...
I just heard a voice.
There's a big purple...
I just heard a voice.
Absolutely ridiculous. There was nothing there. And then...
But you know, sometimes in the paranormal, we do pick up voices our cameras don't pick up. So, you know, you can't just simply throw that out like.
And then the rest of that part of that, they like try to say it was outside, and the dude said, "No, I hear a woman now." Anyway, complete bullshit. Nothing there. Next clip.
Is that all you've got? Sometimes maybe we think we heard something and yeah, we make a mistake. Doesn't mean he was trying to fake it in any way. It simply doesn't. You know, you're not going into any detail debunking this at all, and you seem to your main source of content is debunking people. This isn't a very good example of that. I'm sorry. I have to. I'm on. You know, I'm on Cecil's side for a change on this one.
If that was...
Stay. Come here. Because you're probably alright, it's probably outside. But it's like a woman and a man talking.
Which one was it?
Why are you making a big deal about it?
Nothing.
Maybe it was something, maybe it wasn't, but that's not a big gotcha. I don't get... Is this the best you can fucking do?
That's the door that we came in through.
You saw the road there. There ain't nobody out there. And which one did you hear? Did you hear a man and a woman or just a man? Like you couldn't figure it out? Ouija brothers are real. Ouija brothers are real. Whatever. Next clip.
Now you're sounding like a childish, Now you're just sounding childish. We can put the next clip. Is this the best you can actually do? I'm coming to the impression that this guy is only covering these people so he can clout chase off their name, and he can put their name in his title of his videos so he can get some attention. This is going to bite you in the ass. You know, as for debunking, what are we talking about here? Nothing. Just throwing opinions out and no debunking at all.
Yeah, Carl?
I don't even know if he knows we're coming
Listen.
tonight. I can't hear it. Take a look. Oh God.
It's... I can hear the humming of a girl. I don't know if the cameras can pick it up, but I can hear like a...
He's coming from this room.
I'm trying to figure it out still.
Fucking hell, that's scary.
Trying to figure out... What?
Oh, I think it's just me standing on broken glass. It scared the shit out of me.
Walking on broken glass.
Wow, okay. Alright, cool. There was
I'm glad you were impressed.
nothing there, and then dude started singing in an abandoned house. Thought you were doing an investigation, as you called it.
Why can't we sing in an abandoned house? Maybe the entities and the spirits would be happy for someone to sing to them in an abandoned house. What's your problem? God, this is boring. You know this guy didn't get nookie in a long time. Thankfully we're nearly finished.
Yeah, they're real, alright. Really full of next clip.
I'll give it.
They're full of what? And why are they full of it? You haven't debunked anything at all. You're making a fool of yourself. The Ouija brothers are probably not even going to get mad at this. They're probably just going to laugh at you.
In purple, you said you'd seen it change.
Yeah?
Okay, look.
So you want us to leave? But we've only just started talking to you. It'd be nice if you could contact us and maybe walk down the stairs and say hello to us if you are upstairs.
See what I mean by like literally ask a question or try to communicate or do something and then go to B-roll. There's more B-roll in this video than there is actually video.
Because they didn't get a response. What's wrong with that?
It's absolutely crazy. Oh, but they're real. Next clip.
Gee.
What's that? Did you hear that
No,
noise then?
Rumbling.
No, he's like clatter, like clattering.
Yeah, I can hear something. I don't know if it's a train.
You know, it sounded like glass. Or like broken tiles and someone walking over it.
There's broken glass downstairs. Was it behind you? Very heavy energy.
What are you laughing at? I thought you were a paranormal investigator. Do you not feel energy changing within rooms? So some people can change, be that. So I don't know what the fuck you're laughing about.
can hear like knocking.
All right, I got a few things.
Good. Because you don't have anything at the moment, so let's hear the few things.
All right. One person said they heard some. One person said they heard something different. The one person argued to the other person on what he heard until he agreed with him. That's crazy. Second, you know that little knocking noise that was at the end? I hear this knocking. You know what it was? Them old ass windows just barely moving. With the camera on it, you can see it move a little bit. It's ridiculous. Next clip.
You might be right, but that doesn't mean that they're fake. Maybe they missed something. We all miss something. We all make fucking mistakes. Doesn't mean that we're fake. This is fucking ridiculous. Is this the best you can fucking do, like?
Eat soup, I love you.
No.
The mattress cover has changed my life, and here is why. I adjust my temperature, so right when I enter.
Is that a human? Could you make that noise again?
You see the way he just shakes his head every time Steve opens his mouth? He's got a bias against him. That's just simply it. What's wrong with asking a question? This is fucking nonsense.
Jeremy.
Is that you, Jeremy? We did ask for a name quite a while ago. We finally got one. Is that you?
Yeah, I'm done. That's okay. So what made the name relevant when you asked the question like 30 minutes ago, and then other stuff not relevant? You were good until that damn phone app. Good old Ghost Tube.
So, because they use Ghost Tube, they're fake, basically.
I'm sorry, but phone apps are not ghost hunting tools. Okay?
Well, you've got a right to your opinion. It doesn't mean that you have the right to just say that people are fake because they use apps or whatever way they want to use equipment. Let them find out for themselves. Do you know? You've got a strong opinion. That's fine. But to demonize these people for trying out something, at least they're trying out stuff. Do you know? Thought you were a paranormal investigator.
I don't care what anybody says. They never will be unless new technology comes out. And even then, can't rely on it. And
Yeah, my opinion is a lot of these devices will not give you the fundamental proof that, ghosts are real or whatever. The best piece of equipment you could use is yourself and cameras. And voice recorders. These other things, they very often just add more questions than that. But, for you to say that apps are fake because they're just shit is not a proper explanation to why they're bad. You're right. You've got right to your opinion and that, but you haven't debunked anything. And then because you've got these strong opinions, these other people now are fake. You haven't debunked anything. It's nonsense.
Ouija brothers, I'm just going to say it this way. Once you fake one thing, with your little phone app, that means you'll fake everything. Exactly. So,
But they didn't fake anything. Where did they fake it in the video? They heard stuff, or they might have heard stuff, and they could have been mistaken. That's not faking. Word came up on an app that may or may not be relevant to the property or the investigation. That's not faking it either. So I think, you think you have a gotcha there, but you don't. Back to Cecil's video. It's not real paranormal seeking. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of really, really boring stuff. And it's not, you know what I mean? People aren't going to be entertained with it on YouTube. And I still do my sessions and stuff. A lot of people don't bother with them because I'm not talking to famous people. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to change because people want to hear from famous people. I'm not going to do that. If it kills my channel, well, so be it. That's the way I look at it. But I don't focus on debunking channels, to be honest with you. You mentioned The Shape, right? Yeah, The Shape is very good at debunking stuff. But I have one problem with him. And you mentioned The Shape in one of your videos, and probably because he talks about Huff a lot. Now, Huff ruined ITC on YouTube for everybody. Straight up, and I'm being honest with you, Cecil, he ruined ITC for everybody because he thought he was better than everybody else. I mean, who goes on YouTube and say, this is the best evidence of the paranormal ever. This is the best communication in the world. I mean, like, who does that? Other people can label you that, but when you label that yourself, about yourself, there's a red flag there. The problem I have with The Shape is, he bundled Hope Paranormal in with Steve Huff. Hope Paranormal was willing to talk to him. I called out, Steve Huff a number of times. And sometimes Josh was kind of bundled in there, on and off. Josh came to me and says, I'd like to talk to you. That's what Josh does. The Shape could have communicated with Josh, but he never bothered. Josh is approachable, but The Shape went off and said, when it comes to Steve Huff, there's a number of times where Steve has messed up, and it's quite clear. Josh, on the other hand, he kind of at the time was following Steve and being influenced by him. Now, I'm not going to say that I agree with everything that Josh does, because I don't agree with people doing celebrity ghost box sessions on the day of their funeral. Things like that. Me and Josh have this, that's our differences. But other than that, he is approachable. Why didn't Shape just contact Josh? He had an opportunity. All you have to do is reach out and talk to Josh. He didn't do it. That's where I have a problem. Me and Josh had conversations over and back on emails and that. I haven't replied to the last email in some time. I must get around to it. But people are dishing people without actually contacting them. I might have been guilty of that myself in the past. but I can understand some people that debunk, that they're passionate about real paranormal. It's actually ruined YouTube that, you know, people are putting out stuff pretending that they're real and they're not. I've got no problem with entertainment as long as people say that it's entertainment. I have no problem with that, because sometimes I'll watch it. Some of it sometimes is funny. For example, I think Ghost Adventures is something that I would class as entertainment and sometimes comedy, because of some of the stupid things that they do. Rant over.
I've seen your videos. You expect that nothing's going to happen to the point where you don't even stick around long enough for anything to happen. Yes, there is people out there who are faking evidence. Yes, that's the truth. That's the sick, horrible truth. But it doesn't mean that every device that you don't agree with cannot be used by ghosts. I do agree with your method, your methods of tools that you use, your paranormal tools, and why. Because I also believe that spirits can use AM and reverse radio frequencies, because it's a lower frequency or a higher, one of the two.
Oh, hold on a second, Cecil. You said reverse AM frequencies. Do you mean on the PSP7 where it says reverse or forward? Because that's not reverse. Now, I'll show you what reverse is. I'm going to turn on my radio here. Now, I'm going to use I'm going to use a Steve Huff method. So you call me a Steve Huff hater. Hold on a wee second. I've got a pedal board here. Now, I've turned on the radio. Don't know if it's going to work here. Here we go. I've got some delay here. Right, that's forward. That's reverse. That's reverse. See, so reverse audio, reverse AM or reverse FM or whatever, that's when it says reverse and forward on a PSP7, which I think is one of the worst spirit boxes ever. It's only scanning the frequencies backwards or frontwards. The audio comes out frontwards. But I have a reverse pedal on my pedal board that actually flips the audio and turns it backwards in real time. That's backwards. That's reverse.
Than FM is, and it's less likely to be interrupted by a radio voice. That's why I took the antenna out of my PSP7.
See, so I don't know where you got that information from. Right, in the chart, right here, is the two different waveforms: frequency modulation and amplitude modulation. I'm not doing this again. It's four takes on this. The two waveforms are different. Now, in amateur radio, you got the two main AM and FM, but it's the band, the whole air band is divided into different things. There is a section for remote controls of cars, baby monitors, etc. Now there's a small section here for commercial radio. It cannot be manipulated by amateur radio. Amateur radio goes into that list of frequencies. They're operating illegally. So that's why the commercial bands have to be kept separate from other things. The whole airwaves, the whole frequency is divided up into certain things, and that's why there is regulations in regard to amateur radio, where you can and cannot go. If you want to look into FM and AM and digital, can't pronounce that word, that M word. The digital form is even different again. It's kind of like squares. It goes up and down, up and down. We don't need to talk about that. The main two is AM and FM. If you're into ITC, it's a good idea to have a small bit of basics on what is the difference between AM and FM. You know, but there's two main differences. They're not in any way vulnerable to outside interference like amateur radio and stuff like that, because amateur radio has its own separate bunch of frequencies which it needs to remain in. It is illegal to go outside those boundaries of frequencies. You cannot go into the boundaries of commercial radio with amateur radio without breaking the law. Another small interesting thing about between AM and FM can be restricted by buildings, trees, etc. It doesn't travel as far as AM. AM can actually reflect off the Earth's atmosphere and bounce back down. In CB terms, we call it skip, where we sometimes during the day we can bounce a signal off the ionosphere around the Earth, and it can come down in America or some other area at an angle, which means that the AM signal can travel further. Just a small interesting little side note there. But why would you take the antenna out of your PSP7 when your method is using pieces of audio to for spirits to manipulate? Why would you cut down on the stations? That part I don't get.
Cecil, you do realise that with AM, the AM antenna is inside the radio in a coil, not the telescopic area that's external to the radio. That's the FM antenna. The internal antenna is the AM antenna. You do realise that? I don't think so. I wouldn't advise removing this because the coil is very, very precise and very, very delicate. You cut that coil, it's very, very hard to get it back. Exactly. So I wouldn't cut that if I were you.
Because the PSP7 or a conventional spirit box, the idea is to use the radio broadcast, the snippets of radio broadcast, to have audio frequencies for the spirits to manipulate. If you take the antenna out, you decrease the amount of frequencies and you increase the amount of noise. That's what I was trying to explain to you before, and then you turned around and called me a hater. And we go back to the point of the apps. Apps uses snippets of, most of them use snippets of vocal tones chopped up and slowed down and made backwards. But if you take an antenna out of a radio, what you're doing is you're cutting the amount of radio stations coming through, but in doing that you replace it with noise. If you wanted to do ITC with just noise, just put it on a static station. Do you know? So that's why I don't understand removing an antenna from a scanning radio. I don't get that part of it. Yeah, you could put a switch, or you could put a little plug where you can take out the antenna and do experiments that way. But you restrict the radio. If you put a plug into it and you can plug in an antenna, you make the radio a little more versatile, that you can go back to using snippets of audio from radio broadcasts, if you know where I'm coming from. I wasn't flipping hating on you about removing the antenna. You remove the antenna and then you replace it with a piece of wire. That actually is putting an antenna back in that isn't as good as the antenna that was taken out in the first place. I'm trying to understand your logic there, and I don't. But I wasn't hating on you. But you turned around and called me a hater, and then you started making videos on me. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for you. And all I was doing was trying to explain why taking the antenna out increases the noise and reduces vocal tones. That's all I was trying to explain to you.
But just like we cannot prove that whether or not we're talking to a demon versus an angel versus a spirit guide versus a regular spirit of someone who died, no matter what tool you use, we have no way of proving that that is what it's saying it is.
Exactly. Because we don't... I mean, like, we've been doing ITC for a long, long time. We've asked the fundamental questions, who they are, where they are, all the fundamental questions about, you know, where, you know, we still have, all we have is communicators communicating with us from an unknown known source or origin. And until we find out what that source or origin is, we're not going to fully know.
Because consciousness, my opinion, consciousness outside of a body has no limit to what it can form into, to what it can say or do.
Yeah, I mean, like, all we can have is sort of theories. You know, some people say, you know, they go by biblical scripture and say that, you know, when people die, they go up to heaven or whatever. From doing ITC, my interpretation of the afterlife is the energy from the body when it leaves on the moment of death, and exists on a different frequency to us on Earth. To make it a simple way, it's like radio stations on a radio. Just because you turn it to one certain station and then change it to another doesn't mean that the first station that you were listening to doesn't exist. It does, but you can't hear it because you're in a different frequency, kind of thing. So I'm thinking of, you know, the energy from people existing in layers, you know, in frequency in the atmosphere, sort of thing, is a simple way of putting it, sort of thing. I probably made a balls of that, but hopefully you understand.
So just like you cannot prove that an EMF is being used and manipulated by a spirit, we also cannot prove that spirits exist. There's no way to scientifically prove it.
Well, one step closer to that would be to measure the EMF and then trace the source. What we do in paranormal investigations and ghost hunt is we measure the EMF, but we don't trace it back to source, which would involve more specialized equipment than we already have, it could be very expensive. But if we could trace every piece of EMF back to source, then we would know a lot more.
You know, if we have our cameras and we see an apparition or whatever, we still can't say that it's a spirit, because it could be what we would call stone tape theory, which would be a playback of events from a long time ago, where the energy was strong and the energy was absorbed into the environment around. You know, some people mistake ghosts for actually stone tape theory, where a lot of the times people believe that most apparitions is actually stone tape theory.
I mean, we could say that 5 of us witnessed 4 spirits walking in and throwing something at us, and we caught it on tape. Because technology is so high and that you can manipulate video and audio in any type of thoughtful way possible, and you can also make things look real that is impossible to be real with video editing technology these days, that you can't even tell what's real, what's not anymore anyways. And the problem is there's way too many people faking shit, because their heart is more into going viral than it is to actually finding evidence.
I totally agree, but that's why these debunkers are so passionate about what they do. Do you know, you said that there were haters and stuff. They're passionate about the paranormal as well. But the thing is, the paranormal is under threat by the increase in technology. You know, yes, increase in technology benefits the paranormal, but it also it could be the nail in the coffin for the paranormal as well, because AI editing, fakery that's very hard to prove is going to be in our future. And I mean, like, stupid people that just believe everything are going to believe all this stuff to be true, when in fact it isn't. But you see, that thing, when that happens, and that had been happening, it gives the paranormal a bad name. That's why these people, these debunkers, are so passionate. They don't want the paranormal to be tainted with fakery. Do you know? That's why they're passionate. I can understand that. But as long as they are not just prejudiced because, they hate Steve Huff, or they hate Ghost Adventures or whatever. Do you know? Once, there's some people out there, they're just focused on 1 or 2 people that they absolutely hate, and they just go mad after just them. When, there's loads of people out there that are faking. But the thing is, some of these people are debunking people that actually have labelled their content as entertainment. That's the problem as well.
Well, halfway through this video, I discovered who he was actually talking about when it comes to debunking, and we already went through one of his videos, and my advice is that is not a debunker. I've only watched one of his videos, but if that's the way he tries to debunk paranormal channels, he's not a debunker. I would watch something else, or maybe just focus on the paranormal, do your own stuff, and don't worry about the debunkers at all. That's my thing. I don't bother with debunkers. I just do my own thing,
Just because someone uses a device that you don't think is real doesn't mean that person is faking shit.
Yes, but there are a lot of people that have come onto YouTube and they've seen, you know, what they've seen on television and went around and started using those things, not knowing what they actually do. What is an EMF detector? What does it measure? What does waveforms look like? You know, what are the sources of EMF in our environment that are man-made, that could manipulate those devices? How does the waveforms travel? All that kind of thing. A basic ham radio course will actually show you about radio waves and waveforms and all that kind of stuff. So there is loads of people on YouTube. They're walking around with EMF detectors not knowing exactly what they actually do. Loads of people with PSP7 turning it on, not exactly knowing what the theory is behind it, where the history came from, how ITC was done before even the scanning radio. People are too lazy to look into the history. And Cecil, you have a habit of copying what other people are doing on YouTube without doing research. You throw around that name, that word research a lot. Look into some of the history. It's not popular on YouTube, but it's very interesting if you're interested in the paranormal. Marcello Bacci, Annabella Cardoso, Frederick Jurgensen, all these people, all the research that has been done. There should be journals on all these people. There's a journal on Frederick Jurgensen. I have a journal on Marcello Bacci. Marcello Bacci was actually the person that got me interested in ITC in the first place. I've been doing ITC when I was in school, when there was no such thing as a scanning radio. The policy was you don't have radio broadcasts coming in and interrupt or polluting your audio. You just use static from a radio. Same thing with EVP. All we were using was tape recorders. Some of this stuff we were in a lab and we were putting them into Faraday tents that were grounded. All that kind of thing. That was before the scan radio stuff. So looking into some of the history of the older stuff, you get very interesting ideas, like the video loop method, where you face a camera towards your TV screen with HDMI looping out of your TV into your camera, and the camera's recording the screen, and the screen is showing what the camera is, and it's just a constant loop. It was more difficult a long time ago because you had to go through a video recorder because there was no HDMI. With the newer TVs and that, it's an awful lot easier. And then there's this lady in Sonia, I can't remember her second name, she's from Brazil, doing these vape type of photography. Vapor and getting images from vapor. That's all ITC. That's all really interesting stuff. But the regular ghost hunter is not really interested in that. People are not willing to go and look at some of other people's stuff in history and learn from that. And I suggest people do that because it makes things a lot more interesting. But people are just too lazy to do that a lot of the time.
I do realise I went off on a tangent and it didn't even address what Cecil was actually saying. And I've got more of an understanding now, seeing as I did actually watch one of this guy's videos. Basically, the guy says, because these people are using apps, they're faking, which is not the case. Mind you, there is a lot of apps on the market that are absolutely crap. So it is a complete minefield when it comes to apps. But they're not intentionally faking a lot of the time. You know, sometimes people are just using crap apps. You know, but the app argument has been going on for years. I'm not going to get involved in it. I believe that, audio, snippets of audio, vocal tones can be manipulated by the unknown source or origin communicator. I do believe that. Just finding a good app is very, very difficult when there's so many around.
Does it? Doesn't mean that at all. Whatsoever. I didn't believe in. I'm 45% Cherokee Indian, and I didn't even believe in spirit communication until I started doing it myself. I'm not famous. I'm not popular. And I never was doing paranormal research to be such a thing. But because I never went viral, doesn't mean that I grew a hateful heart to where now I'm knocking down everyone that I don't agree with.
Here's the thing about people going viral. It seems like on YouTube, if you go viral, most likely you're manipulating something, or you're entertaining people. You're making things exciting, which means you bend the rules and break them. Because what we're actually on is an entertaining platform. People don't want to listen to 3 hours of experiments anymore. It's not a thing, unfortunately. When people are watching 1-minute videos on TikTok, that shows you how much people's concentration plans are now. You know, I mean, like, people may be doing things right, and then their focus is to be successful on YouTube, to make some money or whatever, and then they change in order to make some money. But then you kill your own research. That's the thing. I can't do that. I don't want to muddy my own waters by doing that. And sometimes I feel like I'm just a dying breed. But I still want to do it. I still want to document it, no matter how boring it is. I film other things. I go visit places and that, I try to entertain that way. But when it comes to the paranormal and the ghost hunting and stuff, I don't see it as trying to be entertaining. Yeah, sometimes we crack jokes and muck about when we were on location and stuff like that. That was the part that we were trying to be entertaining. People farting and laughing about it and telling jokes and stuff like that. But when it came down to the actual ghost hunt or the paranormal investigation, we were deadly serious about it. But because we didn't have our friends dressed up as nuns hiding in closets and stuff, people don't care. And if we did have nuns dressed up, or our friends dressed up as nuns in the closet, in a closet, there's going to be a certain amount of people that's actually going to believe that these people are ghosts. You would not believe how gullible some people are.
And building a whole channel surrounding it, knowing that people like Paranormal Nightmares haters are going to come to your channel and give you agreements. They're going to agree with you. And you're going to have new supporters. So it's easy to take a shortcut as a YouTube creator by feeding trolls and feeding people with hateful hearts and negative attitudes to build your channel than it is to spread love and support with each other. You see, just as much as it is a disaster for people to be faking evidence that makes the paranormal world, the paranormal community look bad, it's also bad that everybody's always against each other and there's no unity in the paranormal community because everybody has a different opinion and nobody can work together.
That's very interesting, Cecil, because both in America and especially in the UK, the paranormal had been surrounded with drama all the flipping time. When I started off with YouTube, there was a number of channels that I actually followed and stuff, and next thing, it turned from being paranormal to a soap opera. It was like people just tuned in to see what the next drama was. Teams started falling out, they started, vandalising their cars, turning up on flipping locations because they were saying, we're going live at such and such a location at 9 o'clock tonight. Next thing, these other people that don't like them are hiding in the bushes throwing stones at them and stuff. And it just turned into a big shit show. I mean, like, I look back at 2016, 2017, it was a dumpster fire. But the thing is, in ITC, we're, a lot of us are not, we don't shout from the rooftops, and we still put out stuff on YouTube, but there's a certain amount of respect there, Now, we're not talking about your ITC with, Steve Huff and blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to talk about Steve Huff in the real ITC community. Nobody's in the community I'm in, nobody's interested in celebrity spirit box sessions. We're interested in experiments and trying different new things. And I'm in contact with two people in the United States. Both have history in audio engineering and stuff. And we all do things in a different way, but we all have a mutual respect for each other. And none of us are flipping famous. And I cannot understand why these other people, their channels aren't growing. Because their knowledge is unbelievable. But people want to be just entertained. They want the ghosts popping out from behind gravestones and all this kind of shit. I'm beyond all of that. But nobody actually, there's not an awful, it's a small niche. These other people I'm talking about, they go live every weekend. And they might only have about 10 to 20 people alive, and they still do it every flipping Saturday. And the reason why they do it every Saturday is because they love ITC. It's got nothing to do with YouTube. When you start putting YouTube in front of ITC, you're putting the cart before the horse. That's when you start screwing up. That's when your focus isn't in the right place.
Whatsoever. It's every man for himself. But you notice the biggest paranormal researchers in the world are people who didn't have a problem with working with others. You're never going to go anywhere by yourself unless you get lucky and make a viral video somehow. You see, when you go into the paranormal community, only when your heart is that you just want to go viral and be famous, then your heart is not in the right place to be a paranormal researcher.
I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And that's what I was just saying. Do you know? I'm actually surprised that you're actually talking sense here. You know, I try to have a conversation with you, and I've said in a comment, why don't you just do ITC for the sake of ITC? And then you said, so you want me to do ITC just to do ITC and to not to have a moral compass. A moral compass isn't going to get you anywhere, kind of thing. You flipping you tore strips out of me. Now you deleted the videos, and this was all in relation to Kobe Bryant's spirit box, where Lyco called you out. I didn't know who Lyco was at the time. And he accused you of clout chasing. But you admitted that you'd done it for the views. And then I says, Cecil, why are you getting into an argument with this person when you already admitted that you'd done it for the views? So I don't understand that. And then I try to be logical with you. I said, why don't you try ITC for ITC's sake? You know, not specific to you know, your favourite celebrities and stuff. Because I actually know that you got EVPs when you're doing other videos. You know, I listened to them and I think you did get EVPs. You know, why don't you just do ITC for ITC's sake? I think you might be in a good spot there. So, you know? I actually recently came home from holiday. I actually was in a beach house, which means I was on sea level. I find it very interesting doing ITC at sea level. And, you know, not calling out for Michael Jackson or Tupac or stuff like that. Just let communicators come in and talk. Because sometimes when you have the equipment on, you end up in a conversation with other communicators communicating with each other. Sometimes they'll let you in on the conversation, sometimes they'll tell you to shut up. It's interesting, do you know? But if you're just focused on famous people, to put famous people in a title, that's actually not being, you know, that's actually being a YouTuber, if you know what I'm saying. You know, I'm agreeing with some of the stuff that you're coming out with today, and I'm actually surprised. Do you know? Do you know? I'm not giving you a hard time here. I'm just reacting to what you're saying today, and some of the stuff I actually agree with you. You know?
Because then you don't even care about the spiritual science of it. You don't care about the evidence. You don't care about paranormal community at all.
Exactly. But I would ask why every time you do a spirit box session, it has to be based on a celebrity. To me, you know, some people they do believe that, you know, you can communicate with anybody because time and space is different in the afterlife and stuff. But I can't understand why you would just not let other spirits talk or other communicators talk. You know, why is the focus on famous people? That's the bit I'm trying to understand here.
All you care about is going viral. And if you don't go viral, you become bitter and hateful and start pointing out what you don't like about other people all day.
Would you be directing that at us? Because, to be honest with you, my focus when it comes to the paranormal is to focus on the paranormal and document it. Yes, I'd like people to see it, but if they don't, doesn't matter. I have the information, I have the data, and I have it on YouTube, and I have it in my hard drives. I have a box, I have a little lock box there with hard drives, and I have ITC sessions in those hard drives going back to 2017, even back to when I wasn't very good, because I was new to the scanning radio thing, and before that I only had spent a couple of months on Marcello Bacci's research and stuff like that, you know. But I got really interesting, I have had really interesting responses. To me, that's the gold. A lot of people haven't seen that, seen the responses. You know, me doing sessions, a number of sessions where I'm asking, you know, just for test purposes, can you say hi Sam if you can hear me right now, and my name comes up straight away and stuff. So, you know, I was out on a paranormal investigation, one of the last investigations I had with Rachel and that, and I had a 12-587 and it just came out with you fat CUNT, and Rachel was holding the camera and she was about 8 feet away and she heard it as clear as day. It was unbelievable. That didn't go viral, but it's one of my, it's a treasure, because that definitely was not radio, you know. And I just wanted to document it. You know, yes, I would have liked more people to see it, but, you know, at the end of the day, we captured it on video. We captured it on video and we have it and we can play it and we can hear it again. That's you know, that's good enough for me. You know, if you want to be a YouTuber, I am sort of a YouTuber, because I go out and I do stuff that isn't paranormal content. You know, I've documented my holiday and stuff. At the end of the day, I don't, you know, if I don't get thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers, it doesn't matter, you know. Thing is, if I get old and I start losing my memory and stuff, and I start forgetting stuff, I do forget stuff because of, you know, things that happened to me in the past and stuff. But I can hold those memories and I can look back on them. That's, to me, is you know, that's why YouTube, documenting stuff on YouTube is important to me. You know, because I have a habit of forgetting things. You know, if you go through trauma or whatever, your memory isn't as good. And if you record things on camera and you can play it back, you can re-jog your memory and stuff. That, you know, yeah, I'd love to have thousands of subscribers and earn some money in that, but I wouldn't. I'd love to earn money in the paranormal and have it as a full-time job and stuff. But it's very, very difficult if you're just being completely honest. Because sometimes when you're being completely honest, the paranormal sometimes is not exciting. You know, it's boring. It's sitting around waiting. And then some of the fantastic evidence, people aren't wowed by it anymore. You know, a light anomaly and stuff, or an EVP, that's flipping. An EVP is a communication from an unknown source or origin. It's fucking gold when you think about it. It's communication from something you can't see. It's really special, but it isn't on YouTube because it's not exciting enough. It's like, you know, what I said before, nuns, you know, investigators dressed up as nuns popping out of cupboards and behind gravestones and that. That's what people want to watch on YouTube, and it's sad. It's sad. You try to be truthful. You try to, discover the paranormal for yourself. You try different experiments, knowing that sometimes you're going to make mistakes and stuff, but you're going to have to do it anyway, because that's the way you learn. But what you have, you have a number of followers that agree with your way of doing things, and you have a small niche. Paranormal is a small niche on YouTube. If you're going to make exciting content, you're going to have to bend the rules. You're going to have to fake stuff if you want to be an entertainer. But we do have to separate the gap between entertainment and real paranormal. And that's what some of these debunkers are trying to do. But the thing is, some of these debunkers are now jumping on a bandwagon because being a debunker is a trending thing at the moment.
Therefore, the only people that you attract to your channel is people who feel the same way that you feel. Bitter and hateful. Because they didn't become popular with what they agree with doing in the paranormal realm. They decided to get angry with people who are successful, and decided to point out what they don't like about them all day on videos, because that's what got you the most plays.
Not exactly, no, Cecil, because you may be in the back of your mind you're talking about the Steve Huff haters kind of thing. Now, it was pointed out to you a number of times that Steve Huff had made mistakes, and he had purposely asked questions, jump cut, then response from the spirit box. That if you are doing ITC, you press record at the beginning and you turn it off at the end. If you jump cut in between, you're polluting that recording. Steve says that, well, there's some dead hair in between and people don't want to watch that. Well, in the true ITC, people do want to watch that because they want to, they'll know that nothing happened in between such and such a time and such a time. Leave it in, because if you don't, if you cut it out, people might think you're hiding things. That's the thing. That was pointed out a number of times, Cecil, where Steve had messed up big time. He managed to piss off a whole country. India, with this, I can't remember the celebrity's name, but he screwed up really bad. I'm not going to go into details about it because I covered it in another video. The method was to use his audio, the audio of this celebrity, on a YouTube video, put it through his system backwards to get the communication. But some of the communication was actually forward, and it was pointed out by an audio engineer. I showed it in a previous video. It is what it is. But we just move on from that. You see, we're not focused on him all the time. In fact, in ITC, people don't want to talk about him at all.
By relating to hate. And when you relate to hate, then those haters who don't make content, who only watch content, those trolls, that's what your fan base is going to be. People who feel the same way that you feel. You see, you could be a positive person. If you put out positive optimistic, understanding, meet people halfway type of attitude on YouTube, then that's the kind of people you're going to attract to support your channels. But if you put out that's fake because they do this or that, or they should be canceled because of this or that, then that's the kind of people you're going to attract to your channel.
But that's what you actually attract to your channel, because you fell out with me because of me pointing a few things out in ITC. And I was only putting my opinion forward. I wasn't actually saying, you're doing that wrong. You know, I don't want to be that person to say, oh, you're doing it wrong and I'm doing it right. I was just making suggestions. I'm going to make suggestions at the end of this video. You can fucking turn around and insult me all you want. I just want to be positive in this video. Would you possibly going to turn around and be negative about it if you watch the video? But I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to be. I'm actually passionate about the paranormal. There isn't a day that goes by that I haven't thought about ITC or done something with ITC. It's part of my everyday flipping life. Do you know what I mean?
If you're negative, you attract negative people and negative energy. If you're positive, you attract positivity. And see, that's why those people are so much bigger, because they don't have drama on their channel. They don't have negative people supporting their channel.
Not exactly. Here's the thing, Cecil. Some of these people that proven demons, for instance, right? He wanted to boost his attention, both on YouTube and mainstream media. So what did he do? He pulled a stunt by hiding a bone in a wall of an abandoned house. Now, negative attention came his way, but it got his name out there. It's a shitty way of doing things, but that's what people do. And to get into beef with another paranormal group or a paranormal person, sometimes it's done on purpose just to get some sort of attention. Because at the end of the day, people watch dramatic stuff on their TVs. In the UK, you've got Coronation Street and EastEnders. For a number of years in the UK, it was like the paranormal community was like an EastEnders version of the paranormal. People were watching for what kind of dramatic stuff was going to happen next. Me, I ended up being sick of it because there wasn't much paranormal being done. But these people grew subscribers from the drama. The thing is, the people that were subscribing were there for the drama. They weren't there for the paranormal and the ghost hunting. So when the drama went away, so did the viewers. People were turning to desperate measures to get attention on YouTube when it came to the paranormal. And to get that, it wasn't paranormal that was getting them attention, it was pulling stunts and getting into beef with other people. That's how they were getting attention. But when the drama went away, so did the viewers. They weren't interested anymore, and they weren't interested in the paranormal. What they ended up having was a viewer base that wasn't interested in the paranormal, even though they started out on YouTube trying to be in the paranormal. If you know where I'm coming from.
They have good people who feel the same way as they do.
That's it, basically. But I'm going to finish right with this. Cecil's in an upstairs apartment, and he is getting EVPs, and he is getting the odd interesting thing when it comes to ITC. But Cecil, you got audio software and stuff. You got me. I've got the manual stuff. I got the pedal board and stuff like that. If you can get a piece of software with these pedal boards, you can clean up your sound and have nice clean ITC. But you need to do it regularly. If you do a spurt box session and then you don't do another one for 6 months, my experience is if you do spurt box sessions regularly, you build that connection. But if you leave a gap of a number of months, you have to go and build that connection up again. Now the other thing is, there is a transformer out on a pole outside your house. EMF, an EMF meter is going to pick up that. So it's going to be a limited use to you in your house. You got Wi-Fi, you got all sorts of things, you got computer equipment and stuff like that. A house, you know, sometimes is filled with EMF, but you've got a transformer outside on a pole outside your house. Now, it's not necessarily a 100% bad thing. It's just that you can't rely on an EMF meter for spur communication. But if you treat it like an EM pump, then you might it might be an advantage when it comes to ITC. And I actually keep forgetting to use an EM pump in some of my ITC. I must try it. The EM pump that I have is actually a computer fan with magnets stuck on the fan, and it just spins around and it creates this. Creates this EMF, and it's so flippin' strong that if you have the device close to you, it'll give you a cracking headache. But maybe that pole outside, that transformer, might be a source of boosting that energy to help with your communication and stuff. The other thing is, why not just do ITC and just try and figure out what kind of communicators you're getting, rather than basing it on celebrities, calling out to celebrities all the time. Because what happens here is, right, you could turn on the spurt box and you could have these communicators come through, but you're focused on talking to Tupac and you're going to ignore these other spirits. These other communicators that are trying to come in and talk to you, they're not going to keep talking to you if you ignore them, because you're focused on talking to Tupac or whatever. Do you know where I'm coming from? Just thought I would share that. Anyway, folks, I've talked about this for an hour. Hope I didn't piss you off. You know what I mean? I just thought this video was sort of interesting. You know, another thing, Cecil, when it comes to the paranormal, if you're interested in ITC, look up people like Marcello Bacci, Frederick Jurgensen, Annabella Cardoso. A lot of these people that nobody gives a shit about, because they have a mountain of knowledge, and it helps when you know some of the history. It helps you experiment, it helps you think about new things. You know, a lot of people in the paranormal, when it comes to YouTube, they follow what other people are doing, because what their other people are doing is getting views on YouTube. So I'm going to try that too. If you said before, I'm a leader, not a follower. I don't believe that when it comes to your paranormal. I think you're copying other people, what you see on YouTube. There's no problem being influenced by some people on YouTube, but sometimes you can be influenced by the wrong people. I've made the mistakes myself. 2016 to 2018, I can look back with embarrassment, because I followed some people that turned out to be shitty people. Turned out to be frauds, turned out to be clout chasers, stuff like that. We fell for it. A lot of us fall for it. Do your own research, do your own thinking, think outside the box. Don't just follow somebody because they're doing well on YouTube, so they must be doing it right. High view counts on YouTube doesn't mean that they're doing it right. It means that they're entertaining people, and in entertaining people they could be pulling stunts. That's all I'm trying to say here. So I'm going to finish now and talk to you soon.